The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure in the known universe. It stretched for miles in every direction, with seats rising up toward a ceiling that glowed with the light of 1,000 captured stars. 200 alien species had gathered here for 50,000 years to decide the fate of the galaxy. They had never once been challenged. Counselor Vex Wrath stood at the center of the hall. He was tall and thin, with a hard shell covering his body, and 4 arms that moved constantly as he spoke. His species had ruled the council for 3,000 years, and he believed this would never change. "We have received a message," Vex Wrath announced. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. "A new species wishes to join our great community. They call themselves humans." Soft laughter rippled through the assembled aliens. New species appeared every few centuries, and they were always the same. Weak, desperate, eager to serve their betters. "Show us," demanded High Commander Xyrith, the military leader of the Council forces. He was covered in thick scales and had teeth that could bite through metal. His species had conquered 100 worlds before joining the Council. The holographic display activated, and the image of a human appeared. The aliens leaned forward with curiosity, then sat back with disappointment. The creature was small, with soft skin and no natural weapons. It had no claws, no armor, no venom. It was pink and fragile, like something that had not finished growing. "This is what wishes to join us?" Xyrith laughed deeply. "I have eaten creatures more impressive than this." More laughter filled the hall. Vex Wrath raised one of his 4 arms for silence. "Their ambassador has arrived," he said. "Let us hear what this soft little creature has to say." The doors at the far end of the hall opened, and Ambassador Colin Price walked in. He was a man of 60 years, with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple black suit and carried no weapons. Behind him walked 2 guards in military uniforms, but they too were unarmed. Colin walked the long distance to the center of the hall without hurrying. He could feel thousands of alien eyes watching him, judging him, dismissing him. He did not care. He had represented Earth in dozens of difficult negotiations, and he had never failed. "Welcome, human," Vex Wrath said. His voice dripped with false kindness. "We are honored that you have traveled so far to kneel before us." Colin did not kneel. He stood straight and looked directly at the towering alien. "I am Ambassador Colin Price of the United Earth Government," he said. "I have come to establish diplomatic relations between our species and the Galactic Council." "Diplomatic relations?" Vex Wrath made a sound that might have been laughter. "Little creature, you do not understand. Species do not have relations with the Council. They serve the Council. They obey the Council. That is how it has always been." Colin nodded slowly. "I understand that this is your tradition. However, humanity does not serve. We are willing to trade, to share knowledge, to work together for common goals, but we will not kneel to anyone." The hall went silent. No species had ever spoken to the Council this way. Vex Wrath's 4 arms stopped moving, and his compound eyes focused entirely on the small human before him. "You dare to refuse us?" Vex Wrath asked quietly. "I dare to speak the truth," Colin replied. "Humanity has 12 colony worlds and a population of 30 billion. We have traveled the stars for 200 years. We are not children begging for protection. We are a civilization seeking equals." High Commander Xyrith rose from his seat. He was twice as tall as Colin and 10 times as heavy. His scales gleamed under the lights as he descended to the floor. "I could crush you with one hand," Xyrith said, stopping just a few feet from the human ambassador. "Your bones would break like dry sticks. Your soft skin would tear like paper. What makes you think you can stand against us?" Colin looked up at the massive alien without fear. "Because I am not alone. Behind me stand 30 billion humans who will never surrender. Kill me, and another will take my place. Kill that one, and another will come. We do not stop. We do not quit. That is what makes us dangerous." Xyrith stared at the human for a long moment, then laughed again. "Brave words from a weak creature. Let us see if your species can match them. He returned to his seat, and Vex Wrath stepped forward again. Human ambassador, the council has heard your words and found them amusing. However, we do not negotiate with lesser species. You will surrender your 12 colony worlds within 30 standard days. You will disarm all your military forces. Your people will serve the council as workers and soldiers. This is not a request. This is the will of the Galactic Council. Colin stood in silence for a moment. He thought about his family on Earth, about the billions of people who trusted him to speak for them. Then he took a deep breath. The people of Earth will never accept these terms, he said clearly. If you attack our worlds, we will defend them. If you kill our people, we will fight back. You may have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years, but you have never faced a species like humanity. Then you choose war, Vexwrath said. No, Colin replied. You choose war. We choose survival. He turned and walked toward the exit. The two guards fell in behind him. Not one alien tried to stop them. After the humans had gone, Vexwrath turned to the assembled council. Send a message to Fleet Command. Dispatch 50 warships to the nearest human colony. Show these creatures what happens to those who defy us. Only 50? Zyrith asked. Why not send 500 and end this quickly? Because 50 will be more than enough. Vexwrath replied with confidence. Look at them. They have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They will see our ships and surrender immediately. This will be over before it begins. The council members nodded in agreement. They had conquered countless species, and all of them had surrendered once they saw the power of the council fleet. Humans would be no different. Far away, Colin Price boarded his ship and sent a message to Earth. Admiral Jake Harris received it within the hour. He read the council's demands, then read Colin's report of the meeting. So they want a war, Harris said quietly to himself. He was a man of 53 years, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. He had hoped humanity would find friends among the stars, but he had prepared for enemies. He pressed a button on his desk. Get me Captain Laura Bennett of the Resolute. And activate the emergency defense protocols for all colony worlds. It seems we have a fight coming. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Bennett received the orders. She was a woman of 40 years, strong and determined. She had never lost a battle, and she did not intend to start now. All hands, she announced over the ship's speakers, prepare for combat operations. The aliens think we are weak. Let us show them how wrong they are. The stars had watched the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Now, they would watch something new. The moment when humanity showed the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. New Haven was a beautiful world. Green forests covered the land, and blue oceans stretched to the horizon. 8 million people called it home. They had farms and cities and schools where children learned about the stars. It was a peaceful place, and the people there wanted nothing more than to live their quiet lives. That peace ended on a Tuesday morning. Commander Ryan Cole was drinking coffee in the defense center when the alarms began. He put down his cup and looked at the screens. 50 ships had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were huge, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Contact Admiral Harris, Cole ordered. Tell him they are here. Governor Nathan Brooks arrived within minutes. He was an older man with a kind face, but his eyes were hard as he looked at the screens. How long until they reach us? He asked. 6 hours, Cole replied. Sir, we should begin evacuating the civilians. Brooks shook his head. To where? There are 8 million people on this planet. We cannot move them in 6 hours. No. We make our stand here, Cole nodded. He had hoped the governor would say that. The council fleet moved toward New Haven with supreme confidence. Fleet Master Korvac stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small planet grow larger on his screens. He was covered in black feathers and had eyes like a bird of prey. He had conquered 12 worlds for the council, and none of them had even tried to fight back. Open a channel to the planet, Korvac ordered. Let us give them a chance to surrender before we destroy them. His communications officer obeyed, and soon Korvac was looking at the face of Commander Cole. Human, Korvac said. I am Fleet Master Korvax of the Galactic Council. You will surrender your planet immediately. Lower your defenses and prepare to receive our landing forces. If you obey, we will be merciful. If you resist, you will be destroyed. Cole looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he smiled. Fleet Master, I appreciate your offer. However, I must decline. You see, this is our home. And we do not give up our homes without a fight. Korvax tilted his feathered head. You cannot be serious. Look at your ships. You have perhaps 20 small vessels against 50 of the finest warships in the galaxy. You have no chance. Maybe, Cole admitted, but we are going to fight anyway. That is what humans do. He ended the transmission. Korvax stared at the blank screen for a moment, then made a sound of disgust. These creatures are insane, he said. All ships, move to attack formation. We will crush them quickly and be home by evening. The 50 council ships spread out and accelerated toward New Haven. They moved with perfect precision, following tactics that had been developed over thousands of years. Each captain knew exactly what to do. What they did not know was that Commander Cole had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. When Earth joined the stars, the military had studied every war in human history. They had learned one important lesson: never fight fair. Activate the orbital platforms, Cole ordered. Hidden in the asteroid belt around New Haven, 20 defense platforms came to life. They had been built in secret and positioned carefully. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The first council ship exploded without warning, then the second, then the third. Fleet Master Korvax watched in shock as his ships began to die. Fire bloomed in the darkness of space, and his displays filled with emergency signals. Where is that coming from? He screamed. Find the source. But before his officers could answer, Lieutenant Megan Torres arrived. She led a squadron of 30 fighters, small and fast. They had been hiding behind New Haven's largest moon, waiting for the perfect moment. Now they struck like wolves attacking a herd. Torres was 32 years old and had been flying since she was 16. She knew her ship like she knew her own body, and she knew that the council pilots, for all their fancy technology, had never faced an enemy who actually fought back. All wings, follow me, she called over the radio. Target their engines first. A ship that cannot move is a ship that cannot fight. Her fighters dove into the council formation. They were tiny compared to the massive alien warships, but they were fast. So fast that the council targeting systems could not track them. Torres flew straight at a council cruiser, dodging energy beams that would have killed her instantly if they hit. At the last moment, she pulled up and released her missiles. They struck the cruiser's engines and tore them apart. Around her, the other pilots did the same. They had trained for years, and they knew exactly what they were doing. On the defense platform, Commander Cole watched the battle with growing hope. That is 12 ships down, he reported to Governor Brooks. They are confused and frightened. I do not think they expected us to fight this hard. Keep pushing, Brooks replied. Make them regret coming here. Fleet Master Korvax could not understand what was happening. His fleet was supposed to be invincible. His ships were supposed to crush all resistance. Instead, they were dying. All ships, retreat, he finally ordered. Fall back to safe distance. The surviving council vessels turned and ran. They had lost 30 ships in less than an hour. The humans had lost only 2 fighters. Torres watched them go with a fierce smile on her face. That is right, she said quietly. Run away, and tell your friends what happened here. On the surface of New Haven, the people came out of their shelters to look at the sky. They could see the distant flashes of the burning council ships, and they began to cheer. They had done the impossible. They had won. Commander Cole sent his report to Admiral Harris on Earth. The Admiral read it 3 times before he let himself believe it. 50 ships, he said to Captain Bennett. They sent 50 ships, and we destroyed 30 of them. Yes, sir, Bennett replied. What do you think they will do next? Harris leaned back in his chair. They will send more. Many more. This was just a test, and we passed it. But the real war is coming. He was right. On the Council homeworld, Counselor Vex Wrath received the news of the defeat. He read the report again and again, refusing to believe what it said. Impossible, he declared. The humans must have cheated somehow. They must have hidden weapons or secret allies. The evidence is clear, one of his advisors said carefully. The humans fought with skill and determination. They were prepared for our attack. Vexwrath slammed all 4 of his fists on the table. Then we will send a real fleet, not 50 ships, 500, 1,000. We will burn their worlds to ash and scatter their ashes to the void. High Commander Zyrith stepped forward. I will lead the fleet myself. I will find this Commander Cole and this Lieutenant Torres, and I will destroy them personally. Do it, Vexwrath ordered. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Council. But far away, on the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Bennett was already preparing. She had received new orders from Admiral Harris. Orders that would change everything. Set course for the Kepler system, she told her crew. We are going to meet the enemy before they reach our homes. And this time, we will not be defending. This time, we attack. The crew cheered. They had seen what happened at New Haven. They knew now that the aliens were not invincible. They could be beaten. They could be destroyed. And humanity was just getting started. The news of New Haven spread across human space like fire. 8 million people had stood against the mighty Galactic Council and won. It was impossible. It was beautiful, and it was just the beginning. On Earth, Admiral Jake Harris stood before the United Government Assembly. Every leader from every nation was present, watching him with worried eyes. The Council will not accept this defeat, Harris said. They will come back with more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. We must be ready. How? Asked the President. We have 20 warships. They have thousands. Harris smiled grimly. Then we will build more. Every factory on Earth, every shipyard in the colonies, every worker who can hold a tool. We will build the greatest fleet this galaxy has ever seen. The order went out that same day. Across 12 worlds, humanity went to war. Dr. Amy Chen ran the Weapons Research Division on Mars. She was 45 years old and had spent her entire life studying physics. Now she had a new job, finding ways to kill aliens. We captured some of their technology at New Haven, she told her team. Their weapons are powerful, but their designs are old. They have not improved them in centuries. They did not need to. End quote. She held up a piece of alien equipment. We are going to change that. We are going to take their weapons and make them better. Then we are going to use them against their creators. Her scientists worked day and night. Within 2 weeks, they had developed new shields that could resist Council weapons. Within a month, they had created missiles that could track and destroy enemy ships with perfect accuracy. General Patrick Moore commanded the ground forces of humanity. He was a large man with a scarred face and hands that had seen too many battles. He had fought in 3 colony wars and had never lost. The aliens think we are soft, he told his soldiers. They think we are weak because we do not have claws or fangs. But we have something better. We have brains. We have hearts. And we have the will to fight until our last breath. His soldiers trained in conditions that would have broken any other species. They learned to fight in deserts and jungles, in mountains and cities. They learned to use every weapon known to humanity, and some that had just been invented. Observer Thalnix was an alien journalist from a neutral species. He had covered wars across the galaxy for 200 years, and he thought he had seen everything. Then he came to Earth. I do not understand, he said to Admiral Harris during an interview. Your species is so young. You have only been in space for 200 years. How can you fight the Council? Harris looked at him calmly. Because we have been fighting since the day we learned to walk. We fought the weather, the animals, each other. Fighting is in our blood. It is who we are. Thalnix recorded everything he saw. He recorded the factories working around the clock, producing ships and weapons at impossible speeds. He recorded the soldiers training with fierce determination. He recorded the scientists creating new technologies that should have taken decades to develop. And he sent his recordings to every corner of the galaxy. The Council's invasion fleet assembled in the Kepler system. 500 warships. The largest force they had deployed in 10,000 years. High Commander Xyrith stood on the bridge of his flagship, ready for revenge. "Today we destroy the humans," he announced to his captains. "Today we remind the galaxy why the Council rules supreme." But Admiral Diane Walsh was waiting for him. She was 58 years old and had spent 40 years in the military. She had studied every battle in human history, and many from alien species as well. She knew tactics that Xyrith had never dreamed of. "They will expect us to defend," she told her officers. "They will expect us to hide behind our planets and wait for them to attack. Instead, we will meet them in open space. We will show them that humanity does not hide." Her second fleet numbered only 60 ships. Against 500 Council vessels, it should have been suicide. But Walsh had chosen her battlefield carefully. The Kepler system was filled with asteroids. Millions of rocks, some as small as houses, and some as large as cities. The Council fleet moved through them carefully, their sensors watching for threats. They did not see the mines that Walsh had hidden among the rocks. The first explosion destroyed 3 Council ships. Then more explosions came, one after another. The alien formation broke apart as captains tried to avoid the unseen danger. "Now," Walsh ordered. "Attack." Her 60 ships emerged from behind the largest asteroids, firing everything they had. The new weapons that Dr. Chen had developed tore through Council shields like paper. The new missiles tracked enemy engines and destroyed them with perfect precision. Xyrith roared with rage as he watched his fleet burn. "These insects," he screamed. "These pathetic little creatures. How are they doing this?" His officers had no answer. The Council had not fought a real war in thousands of years. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy that would not surrender. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 400 Council ships were destroyed or disabled. Walsh had lost 18 vessels. The survivors fled back to Council space, carrying tales of human ferocity. Xyrith was among them. His pride shattered along with his fleet. On the Council homeworld, Vexrath received the news in his private chambers. He broke 3 pieces of furniture before his advisors calmed him down. "This cannot be happening," he said. "We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled for 50,000 years. We cannot lose to these things." Council Elder Mervith was old, even by alien standards. He had lived for 8,000 years and had seen civilizations rise and fall. Now he watched Vexrath with worried eyes. "Perhaps we have underestimated them," Mervith suggested carefully. "Perhaps we should seek peace before more die." "Peace?" Vexrath turned on him with fury. "You would have us surrender to animals? You would have us admit that they are our equals?" "I would have us survive," Marvith replied. "Look at the reports, Counselor. Look at what they are building. In the time since this war began, they have tripled their fleet. Tripled it. At this rate they will match our numbers within a year." Vexrath refused to listen. "High Commander Xyrith will personally lead our next attack. 2,000 ships, the largest fleet in Council history. We will crush them once and for all." Mervith bowed his head. "As you wish, Counselor. But I fear we are making a terrible mistake." Across the galaxy, Observer Thalnix broadcast his latest report. Billions of aliens watched in disbelief as he showed them the truth about humanity. "I have seen many species in my long life," Thalnix said. "I have seen empires that spanned 1,000 worlds. I have seen warriors who knew no fear. But I have never seen anything like the humans." He showed images of human soldiers marching to war, their faces hard with determination. He showed factories producing ships at impossible speeds. He showed scientists working day and night to create new weapons. They are small. Thalnix continued. They are soft. They live only 100 years, while some of us live for thousands. But in that short time, they burn brighter than any star. They fight harder than any species I have ever seen. And they never, ever give up. His words spread across the galaxy, and in quiet corners of Council space, other species began to whisper. Perhaps, they said, perhaps the Council is not as powerful as we thought. Perhaps it is time for a change. The war had only begun. But already, the galaxy was starting to shift. The Nexus system was the heart of Council military power. For 30,000 years, no enemy had dared to attack it. Its stations held weapons that could destroy planets. Its shipyards produced the mightiest vessels in the galaxy. It was the symbol of Council supremacy. Admiral Jake Harris was going to destroy it. Some of you think this is madness, he said to his officers. They were gathered on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the holographic map of the Nexus system. You are probably right. But madness is what the enemy does not expect. And right now, surprise is our greatest weapon. Captain Ben Taylor commanded the assault carrier Defiance. He was 38 years old, with dark hair and steady hands. He had been flying combat missions since he was 20, and he had never backed down from a fight. My ship will lead the attack, Taylor said. We will draw their fire while the rest of the fleet moves into position. Harris nodded. You understand what you are volunteering for? Yes, sir. But the Defiance is the fastest ship we have. If anyone can get in and out alive, it is us. Vice Admiral Kevin Park stood beside Harris. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke. But when he did, people listened. The Council has over 1,000 ships defending the Nexus. We have 300. The numbers do not favor us. They never do, Harris replied. But we are not trying to destroy their fleet. We are trying to send a message. We are trying to show the galaxy that the Council can be hurt, that they can be beaten. But the human fleet jumped into the Nexus system at exactly midnight. The Council forces were caught completely by surprise. They had never imagined that any species would be foolish enough to attack their most fortified position. By the time they realized what was happening, human missiles were already flying. High Commander Zyrith stood on the bridge of his new flagship, screaming orders at his officers. All ships, engage. Destroy the humans. Do not let a single one escape. But the humans were not trying to escape. They were fighting with a fury that the Council had never seen. Captain Taylor drove the Defiance straight into the heart of the enemy formation. His ship twisted and dodged through a storm of energy beams, moving faster than the alien targeting systems could track. Behind him, his fighters poured out like angry insects, striking at everything in their path. Sergeant Martinez, Taylor called over the radio. Are your Marines ready? Sergeant Claire Martinez led the elite boarding team on the Defiance. She was a small woman with short hair and cold eyes. She had grown up in the slums of Chicago and had fought her way into the military through sheer determination. Now, she was about to lead the most dangerous mission of her life. Ready and waiting, Captain. Just get us close enough to that command ship, Taylor smiled grimly. Hold on tight. He pushed the Defiance to its maximum speed, heading straight for the Council command ship. It was a massive vessel, 10 times larger than any human ship. It controlled the coordination of the entire Council fleet. Council defenders moved to intercept, but Taylor was too fast. He flew past them, using his ship as a battering ram to clear a path. The Defiance took hit after hit, but its shields held. Now, Taylor shouted. Martinez and her Marines launched from the Defiance in assault pods. They crossed the gap between the ships in seconds, crashing through the hull of the command ship and flooding into its corridors. The Council soldiers inside had never faced human Marines in close combat. They were tall and strong, with natural armor and claws, but they were slow, and they relied on tactics that had not changed in thousands of years. Martinez and her team did not use tactics. They used violence. Move fast and hit hard, Martinez ordered. We need to reach the bridge. Her Marines fought their way through the ship, corridor by corridor. They used grenades and rifles and sometimes just their hands. The Council soldiers fell before them like leaves in a storm. Outside, the battle continued to rage. Vice Admiral Park coordinated the human fleet, directing ships to strike at weak points in the Council formation. The new weapons that Dr. Chen had developed were working even better than expected. "Admiral," Park reported to Harris, "we have destroyed 200 enemy ships. Their formation is breaking apart." Harris nodded. "Good. But stay focused on the objective. We need to hit the station." The Nexus Station was the largest structure in the system. It held the Council's main military command center and enough weapons to hold off an entire fleet, but it had one weakness. Its shields were powered by generators on the outer hull. Admiral Walsh led a strike team of 50 ships against those generators. Her vessels dodged and weaved through defensive fire, getting closer and closer to the station. "All ships, target the shield generators on my mark," Walsh commanded. 3, 2, 1, mark. 50 ships fired at once. The generators exploded in a chain reaction that lit up the entire system. The station's shields flickered and died. Inside the Council command ship, Martinez reached the bridge. The door was locked, but she had brought explosives. The blast tore the door from its frame, and her Marines poured through. The Council officers on the bridge had never seen humans up close. They stared in shock at the small creatures covered in blood and dust, holding weapons that glowed with deadly energy. "This ship now belongs to the United Earth Government," Martinez announced. "Surrender or die." The officers surrendered. On his flagship, High Commander Zyrith watched in horror as his command ship went dark. Then he saw the human fleet turning toward his position. "No," he whispered. "This cannot be happening. We are the Council. We are invincible." No, he never finished that thought. A human missile struck his flagship's bridge, and Zyrith died without ever understanding how the soft little creatures had beaten him. With their command ship captured and their high commander dead, the Council fleet fell into chaos. Ships began to flee, abandoning the Nexus system to the human invaders. Admiral Harris watched them go with grim satisfaction. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "The Nexus has fallen. The path to the Council homeworld is open." On the Council homeworld of Thessara Prime, Councillor Vex Wrath received the news. He sat in silence for a long time, staring at the report in his hands. "How?" he finally asked. "How did they do this?" Council Elder Mirveth stepped forward. "Because they are not what we thought they were. They are not weak. They are not primitive. They are something we have never faced before. What do we do now?" "We sue for peace," Marveth said, "before it is too late." But Vexwrath shook his head. "No. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. I will not surrender to creatures who live only 100. Gather every ship we have left. We will defend our homeworld to the last." Marveth looked at him sadly. "Then I fear we are watching the end of an era." Far away, on the captured Council command ship, Sergeant Martinez found a working communication terminal. She sent a message to Earth, not an official report, but a simple statement. "We came, we saw, we won. But this is not over yet. The Council is still out there, and they are angry. Whatever happens next, know that we fought with everything we had, and we will keep fighting until the job is done." She ended the transmission and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council homeworld was waiting, and humanity was coming for it. Thessara Prime had been the center of galactic civilization for 50,000 years. Its cities stretched across continents, filled with wonders that other species could only dream of. Its population numbered in the hundreds of billions, and now, humanity's fleet hung in orbit above it like a cloud of angry wasps. Admiral Jake Harris stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the alien world. It was beautiful, he had to admit. Blue oceans and green forests and cities that sparkled like jewels. It seemed wrong to bring war to such a place. But war had come to humanity first. And now it was time to finish what the Council had started. "Open a channel to the surface," Harris ordered. "I want to speak to whoever is in charge down there." 200 speak. The face of Counselor Vexwrath appeared on the screen. He looked tired and old, nothing like the arrogant leader who had demanded humanity's surrender just 6 months ago. "Human," Vexwrath said. "Why have you come here?" "You know why," Harris replied. 6 months ago, your council demanded that we surrender. You called us weak. You called us primitive. You said you would burn our worlds to ash. And you have come for revenge? Harris shook his head. "No. I have come to offer you a choice. Surrender now and accept humanity as an equal member of galactic society. Your people will not be harmed. Your civilization will continue. All we ask is respect." Vexwrath made a sound that might have been a laugh. "And if we refuse? Then we will take what we want by force. And I cannot promise what will happen after that." The counselor was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his tall frame and lifted his 4 arms in a gesture of defiance. "The Galactic Council does not surrender to lesser species. We have 3,000 ships defending our world. You have 500. Come and fight, human. We will show you what it means to challenge the masters of the galaxy." The transmission ended. Harris sighed and turned to his officers. "So be it. All ships, move to attack formation." The Battle of Thesara Prime was the largest space battle in recorded history. 3,000 council ships against 500 human vessels. It should have been a slaughter. It was, but not in the way the council expected. Lieutenant Megan Torres led the first wave of fighters. She had been fighting since New Haven, and she had lost count of how many enemy ships she had destroyed. Now, she was about to add more to that number. "All wings, follow me," she called to her pilots. "We are going straight for their command ships. Cut off the head, and the body will fall." Her fighters dove into the council formation with terrifying speed. They had learned from every battle, improved their tactics, upgraded their weapons. Now they moved like a single living creature, striking and retreating, always staying one step ahead of the enemy. Captain Taylor brought the Defiance into the heart of the fighting. His ship had been repaired and upgraded since the Nexus, and it moved faster than ever. He targeted the largest council ships, disabling their engines and leaving them helpless. Sergeant Martinez led boarding teams onto 3 different vessels during the battle. Each time, she captured the ship in less than an hour. The council soldiers had no answer for human marines in close combat. Admiral Walsh coordinated the fleet from her position behind the main line. She saw patterns that the council commanders could not, weaknesses that they did not know existed. Under her guidance, the human fleet moved with perfect precision, and Admiral Harris watched it all, making decisions that shaped the course of the battle. He had studied war his entire life, and now he was fighting the most important battle in human history. He would not fail. The council fleet began to break apart after 4 hours of combat. Ships that had fought together for centuries now fled in panic, ignoring orders from their commanders. The discipline that had held them together for 50,000 years crumbled in a single afternoon. On the surface of Thesara Prime, the council chamber descended into chaos. Member species screamed at each other, blaming everyone for the disaster. Some demanded surrender, others demanded that they fight to the last ship. Council Elder Mirveth watched the chaos with sad eyes. He had warned Vexwrath. He had begged him to seek peace. Now it was too late. "Enough!" Mirveth shouted, his old voice cutting through the noise. "This madness must end. I am removing Counselor Vexwrath from command and surrendering to the humans." Vexwrath stared at him in shock. "You cannot do this. I am the leader of the council." "You were the leader," Mirveth replied. "Now you are nothing. Guards, take him away." The guards obeyed. They were tired of dying for Vexwrath's pride. Mirveth opened a channel to the human fleet. "Admiral Harris, this is Council Elder Mirveth. I am assuming command of the council forces. We surrender. Please, no more killing." Harris felt the tension drain from his shoulders. "Elder Mirveth, I accept your surrender. Order your ships to stand down, and no more harm will come to your people." The guns fell silent. The council ships stopped fighting and drifted in space, waiting for orders. the war was over, Ambassador Colin Price landed on Thesara Prime the next day. He walked into the council chamber with the same calm dignity he had shown at the first meeting. But this time, the aliens did not laugh. The United Earth government does not seek to rule the galaxy, Price announced to the assembled species. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We only want what we asked for from the beginning. Respect. Recognition as equals. A place at the table of galactic civilization. Elder Mervith rose to speak. Ambassador Price, the Council has learned a painful lesson. We underestimated your species. We treated you as inferior. That was our mistake, and we have paid dearly for it. He bowed his ancient head. The Galactic Council formally recognizes the United Earth government as a sovereign power. Humanity will have a permanent seat on the Council, and from this day forward, no species will be treated as lesser beings simply because they are young or different. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had been enemies for centuries now cheered together. A new era had begun. 1 year later, Observer Thalnix released his documentary. He called it The Day the Council Fell, and it was watched by trillions across the galaxy. It told the story of a young species that refused to surrender, that fought against impossible odds, and that won not just a war, but a place among the stars. Admiral Harris retired to Earth, where he spent his remaining years teaching at the military academy. He never spoke of his victories, only of his mistakes. The galaxy learned to fear us, he told his students. Now we must teach them to trust us. That is harder than any battle. Ambassador Price became humanity's permanent voice on the Reformed Council. He worked tirelessly to build bridges between species, to heal the wounds of war, and to create a galaxy where no one had to fight for the right to exist. Lieutenant Torres kept flying. She became the commander of the first fighter wing and trained a new generation of pilots. The stars are our home now, she told them, and we will protect that home, no matter what. Sergeant Martinez retired from the Marines and opened a school for children on New Haven. She taught them about history and courage and the importance of standing up for what was right. And on a small colony world at the edge of human space, children of a dozen species played together under an alien sun, human children and alien children, running and laughing and dreaming of futures that their grandparents could never have imagined. The galaxy had changed forever. The Council had fallen, and something new had risen in its place. A community of equals, working together to build a better future. And at the center of it all stood humanity, small and soft and short-lived, but burning brighter than any star in the sky. They had come to the galaxy as strangers. They would remain as friends. The story of humanity's war against the Council was over. But the story of humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning.